There are moments created by master filmmakers which unleash our childhood fears.
Something can come in and bite you on the neck and turn you into this horrible vampire.
They infuse our nightmares.
The film was so strong that I was sort of worried that I caught some plague off the film.
And terrify us.
Almost every horror movie now has that last little
They push the boundaries.
It's those moments when you think this filmmaker is dangerous.
They make us scream.
For half the movie, I was like,
and jump out of our seats.
First time the shark jumped up, and I jumped. I didn't go out and around like, Daddy. It was just boom, boom.
These are the moments we never forget.
Even Pinhead, who doesn't do a decent, nice thing through 8 movies, but somehow or other still manages to get fan mail from women who would like to bear his children.
Presenting the 100 scariest movie moments, a countdown of the greatest moments of cinema shot.
"28 Days Later" is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And I think one of the reasons it's so scary is that it seems possible.
Great movie. You're dealing with the end of the world. It's scary.
All the sets, you really felt like the way things would look after an apocalypse. The people he cast in the movie, they didn't look like glamorous, you know, perfectly chiseled plastic surgery Hollywood people. They look like real people.
When he walks out and there's like nothing outside but him and the empty streets, I mean, that is an amazing thing. And I'm still trying to figure out how they did that.
The viral contraction was instantaneous, that if someone gets bit in 20 seconds, you have to kill them or they're gonna kill you.
It's like the Body Snatchers almost in a way, you know, these infected, angry, half-dead people, and they speed up the film and the noise that went with that, so you had the boo factor there.
They've got the fury of like a rabid animal.
I'm a pretty fast runner, but you really felt like you couldn't outrun the zombies.
This is the first time anyone got the bright idea to make zombies ass-kickingly fast.
I'll start working on them then.
The fact that 28 Days Later was shot on DV, it definitely gave it a more kind of realistic feel to it, but I think it would have been equally as scary on film.
When you see 28 Days Later, you're inspired to want to go out and actually make low-budget horror movies because it looks like fun and it is fun.
George started to talk to me about the horror comics from the 50s, and I immediately kindled to what he was talking about.
I wanted to do a horror anthology. I wanted to do a movie that would be 3, 4, 5 stories, whatever it was, and I wanted them all to be different.
The 5th story, they're creeping up on you. E.G. Marshall stars as Upson Pratt, who's a rich, miserly, agoraphobic, who also has a pathological fear of germs. So, in typical EC Comics fashion, his apartment is overrun by cockroaches.
That was very much an EC comic books kind of thing, to use these various fears as metaphors for very real social problems. His fear of the bugs was a metaphor for his fear of the minorities in the city where this apartment building was.
We needed cockroaches. I mean, we needed hundreds of thousands of cockroaches. Got these entomologists, and they said, well, no, we can go get you some cockroaches. We just go to Trinidad and get some cockroaches, bring them back.
They would go into caves, and the roaches lived in bat dung. So, and all they had was like rubber bands around their pants legs and, you know, lights on their heads, you know. They would dig a hole in the bat and, you know, turn the lights off. And wait a minute or two, and the hole would just fill up with roaches.
They'd bring them on the set. They would dump out 5,000 cockroaches. Within 30 seconds, couldn't see one. They were in the phones. They were in the computers. They were walking around as if in water, but it wasn't water. It was roaches. I mean, it was just hideous. It was hideous.
When people see the bugs coming out of his mouth, they just go, oh, that's it.
And I never picked one of those roaches up. I couldn't do it. And I realized that I was phobic about it. And then I realized, well, my buddies are too. Tom and Steve, everybody was going.
I love Lucio Fulci's Zombie because, first of all, I love Italian-style horror movies. They don't hold back on any level. They have beautiful naked girls. They have full-on gore. The deaths, it's so unbelievably graphic.
Zombie was just basically a ripoff of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. But I do enjoy the film because it's extremely gory.
My favorite scene in Lucio Fulci's Zombie, which is one of the greatest scenes in horror film history, is a zombie fighting a shark. Because I love Dawn of the Dead and I love Jaws, and here was a combination of the two. This zombie goes in the water and a shark takes a bite out of it, and then the zombie grabs the shark and takes the bite out of the shark. I mean, what's better than that? That's like a horror geek's wet dream.
When I saw Zombie, that was in the days of, we had just done Dawn of the Dead, you know? So to me, it was like, well, what are they going to do? How are they going to top us, you know? That eyeball.
It takes so long with it. You're like, okay, okay, okay. But you don't want to look, but you kind of have to because you're not sure exactly when this moment's going to happen, and you're not sure if they're actually going to show it and how far they're going to take it.
It wasn't just a stake going through an eye. You know, Dawn of the Dead, you know, the guy who's zombie gets a screwdriver through his ear, you know, fine. That, it was slow. You know, so you had all this time to be scared and waiting for it, and then it paid off. I mean, it actually goes in.
The Cat People was produced by Val Lewton, and it's another film that's famous for what you don't see is more horrifying than what you do see.
Irena believes that if she has sex with her husband, she will turn into a big cat and she will tear him apart.
If she becomes sexually excited, she will kill.
My favorite thing in Cat People, again, it's twisted, but the fact that the psychiatrist is trying to have sex with this patient, which is outrageous.
The husband's coworker is walking through Central Park.
It's told through shadow. It's told through mystery.
She hears footsteps behind her, which is a little alarming to her. But then she doesn't hear footsteps behind her, and that's even more alarming to her.
I don't know if Val Lewton and Jacques Tourneur invented this type of scare, but if you look at any horror film made afterwards, everybody does it.
Oh! Now why would he do that? Most peculiar. What on earth?
They're coming! They're coming!
If you have one crow flying at you, it's manageable. If you have like 100 crows flying at you, that's terrifying.
Swarms of anything, whether they're locusts, grasshoppers, bees, birds, things swarming is very scary.
The birds are pecking, and you're not dying. I mean, it'd be better to just die instantly.
Actually, this had happened up in Northern California, and I think that's where they realized that they could make a movie.
In pure Hitchcock fashion, there's no exposition in the film. Why did the birds act this way? We don't ever know. But he shows it to us. Suddenly the camera moves way up and we're shooting straight down and we're looking at what we know is a bird's eye view.
It was, I think, the most technically difficult movie because he had to have real birds, fake birds, mechanical birds. It was the most fun to go on that set.
To this day, I can't see the trickery of what mechanical birds Hitchcock used and which real ones he used.
They tried with mechanical birds, and it didn't work. So that's why they had to use the real birds, and they throw all these birds at poor Tippy.
doll from hell arrives via Madison Avenue. We're counting down to the scariest movie moment of all time.
I and my studio did not design scary dinosaurs. We designed real dinosaurs.
I believed those dinosaurs were real. You know, I know they're not, and yet somehow that movie put it in my mind that humans can coexist with dinosaurs.
We built a Tyrannosaurus Rex that was 40 feet long from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, that weighed 18,000 pounds, 9 tons, had something like 350 horsepower, was extremely powerful, and it could act.
They're dinosaurs. We're not supposed to know what they look like, but we do.
I love that the raptors end up being the scariest part because they're sort of slimy, you know, they work in groups and they have calls to one another. It's so much creepier when something's intelligent and evil.
They are like the dino dynamic duo.
They were the meat eaters. They were without conscience. These were the sharks of Jurassic Park. These were not, well, maybe we can talk to him. These guys are going to kill you.
Pacific Heights is every yuppie's dream. Hey, let's me and my girlfriend go and buy a little fixer-upper. This one's in San Francisco. We'll fix it up into a nice house. We'll live in it and we'll rent out a couple rooms to people, make some money. It'll be great.
But there's this tenant, you know, in the first floor, and he gets weirder by the moment.
He moves in, puts bolts and locks on the door, and goes to work.
Michael Keaton is almost like a cancer, destroying their whole lives. And the worst part is that everything that he does makes it seem like it's their fault.
And he goes crazy in a way that he's using the law to his benefit until finally it gets to a point that they're literally trying to kill him.
There's nothing you can do. They try, they call the police, there's nothing, they get a lawyer, there's nothing they can do. He's always one step ahead of them.
What kind of a person would let roaches go in their own apartment? Insane.
Melanie Griffith has the best, like, female revenge. She goes into his life and does some great private investigating, by the way, on her own, and really messes with him. But, unfortunately, Carter Hayes comes back into the picture.
You crossed the line. You're in my room. You're in my private thing. You and your boyfriend. You insulted my intelligence. You got into my area. What are you doing?
I was scared to death of my sister's dolls as a little kid. That Talking Tina was a show that had a very profound impact on me. It really messed me up. And my sister had all of her dolls in her bedroom with her nightlight underneath it, and it was like a flashlight underneath these faces. And I just said, see if there are any good stories that we could do on dolls.
My father had worked in marketing and advertising, and so as a kid I was exposed to all kinds of marketing campaigns, and that fascinated me, and I wanted to write something about how advertising affected children.
Don was very influenced by the fact that Madison Avenue was programming these dolls to be your best friend.
So the whole killer doll device, you know, which of course had been used before, but I realized that it had never been done in such a way that you could treat the doll as a full-fledged character.
Chucky, child's play. What child in their right mind would want to play with a doll
that looks like Chucky.
My son, when he was a little boy, saw the poster for Child's Play, and that gave him nightmares.
Brad Dourif does the voice of Chucky, and Brad's great. He's this amazing Oscar-nominated actor. He does the voice like Jack Nicholson. Chucky, I'm gonna kill you.
The animatronics were amazing in that. You just see him scurrying like a rat. That doll, that could scare the hell out of anybody.
There's a presumed innocence with small things, and then when they turn on you, you know?
Even though he was all but how many inches tall, he was the scariest, meanest, most vicious, violent head doll.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
Before he was more of a loner, and I think he's mellowed now, having a wife and a kid, but he's still very creative in his methods of killing people.
Village of the Damned is a real cool film. It came out in 1960, black and white, British. You see it now and you realize there's some really hysterically funny things about it. George Sanders is maybe the worst father anybody has ever seen in your life, the most unfeeling father. And the Barbara Shelley as the mother has nothing to do with the children. It's kind of hilarious.
We see echoes of Village of the Damned in a lot of later pictures, everything from Rosemary's Baby to The Omen, but Village of the Damned was there first.
It's a great idea to think of kids turning into adults and making them do things.
There's something about scary kids that is unsettling, because it's like you create them, and then they kill you.
George Sanders is trying to create a mental block. The children can read his mind, and he's just imagining a brick wall. Really gone, because you see their glowing eyes in the rubble and the wreckage.
Shallow Grave was really well done, also because the setup is so effective.
Three fairly ordinary and fairly unlikable people take on a new flatmate who promptly drops dead, leaving them with a suitcase full of money. And they then have a choice. What do? Do they hand the money into the police, or do they get rid of the corpse and keep the money?
Cabin Fever took a little from that, in that you think you know who your friends are, but you really don't.
When he's forced to cut that body open and like saw through bone.
Finished. But not quite. Is that going to be deep enough? Don't worry about that.
Is this necessary?
Yes. Now come on, all or nothing.
And it's a marvelous scene, because what Danny Boyle does is he absolutely encapsulates the horror of selling your soul to the devil.
Night of the Hunter is a great film, directed by Charles Lawton. I think the only thing he's ever directed. And just from a stylistic standpoint, it's brilliant.
The fact that there are children involved, and there are children at risk and being threatened, is part of what gives the film its juice.
It's like a tale told around a campfire to kids, a cautionary tale.
That movie mainly works because Robert Mitchum is such a good psychopath.
They made him the embodiment of evil just in how they dressed him and how he moved. If you watch Robert Mitchum, I mean, he is ramrod straight.
With a flick knife in his pocket, which is constantly emerging through his jacket whenever he sees a loose woman who he wants to kill off. And he does, of course, eventually kill off Shelley Winters, although because she won't tell him where the loot from the robbery is. And he then goes after the children.
It's not my doll! It's not my doll!
The doll! Why, sure. Last place anybody think to look.
It's the first true bogeyman of the cinema. He actually is seen leaping up the stairs in a wholly inhuman fashion.
Coming up, Wicked Witches and Monkey Madness. We're counting down to the scariest movie moment of all time.
Even in the credits, from the opening shot, it sets the mood for the entire film. And Brooke Shields, that was her first film.
It has this weird kind of dreamlike, otherworldly quality, almost like an Argento film. You just feel it, the locations don't look familiar. It looks strange, the music's a little bit different.
What Alfred was trying to do was make a Don't Look Now or an Argento film in America. He had the images of the girl with the raincoat, and there was all those scenes of running.
There are certain people in Alice, Sweet Alice that you don't expect to die, and they kill them off. And whenever that happens, you don't feel safe.
Think, a young girl in a Catholic uniform, jealous of her beautiful sister.
And of course, kids getting killed. Again, subject matter that you can't really have in a horror film.
A mask. That's so frightening because the mask is almost realistic looking, but the mask has like blue eyeshadow and like red lips. It's almost like a drag queen mask.
One of the scariest sequences from Alice, Sweet Alice, is when Brooke Shields goes looking for Alice. And Alice is just in this weird, strange warehouse, and she has a mask on, and you don't really know what's going on.
If you think about it, it's goofy. Pods turn into people. I mean, how do they do that?
There's this underlying universal fear of, creeping zombieism throughout society, or totalitarianism, or whatever ism is getting out of control. That's the body snatchers.
Everybody's afraid of the communists taking us over. We're all, and those were the pods. We're all going to become the pod people.
What you're really buying into is the horror of losing your identity.
Where do they come from? I don't know.
And all you have to do is go to sleep.
The scariest moment in that film, though, is when they set up the convention that you can't sleep, that the pods will take you over while you sleep. And he and the girl are in that cave, and there's the moment when he kisses her and he realizes she isn't her anymore. Brilliantly scary. You're next.
Christmas is a joyous time for most people, despite the suicide rate. And I thought, what a great contrast. Let's take the most joyful time and insert into it terror.
Black Christmas became like a cult classic. I remember meeting Steve Martin for this picture, Roxanne, a long time ago, and he said, you were in one of my favorite films of all time. And I said, oh, Romeo and Juliet? And he said, no, Black Christmas. I loved it. Saw it 27 times.
It's totally an underrated film. I remember the first time I saw it, I must have seen it before Halloween, and I remember it freaked me out.
A sorority house filled of young women are staying there over Christmas break, and a maniac is loose and kills them one by one.
Some of the Friday the 13th gave you the point of view. You became Jason killing the teenagers. Black Christmas was like that. It was like, because you never saw the guy and only heard his laugh, you saw his point of view, you were the creepy guy living in the attic.
The one death by saran wrap, plastic wrap, is something in itself, but that body is propped up in a window at the sorority house and sits there throughout the entire film and remains undiscovered.
Then later, when she's there and you can see the plastic is in the mouth, it's again a very ungraphic way of signaling to the audience how horrible it must have been.
You never find out who the killer is or why he's killing people. And I think that a lot of people are unsatisfied by that ending, but actually I think it's brilliant.
If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
Between Margaret Hamilton as the witch and those flying monkeys, this is the movie that has caused more nightmares than any other film ever made.
That green witch.
This is how much longer you have to be alive.
And turned it around, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen after that sand runs out? Is she gonna come in and slaughter her?
Margaret Hamilton was seriously burned in the sequence where she disappears in Munchkin Land, and they had opened a trap door for her to go down, and they're pumping smoke up, and we're supposed to shoot a flamethrower through there, and they got their timing mixed up, and she was out of commission for 6 months. And when she came back to the production, the first thing they wanted her to do was ride the broomstick that was smoking, spelling out "Surrender, Dorothy." And she refused, and so they got her double to do it, and the entire room exploded.
You've got this wonderland, this happy world that something is trying to destroy. And so it's sort of a loss of innocence. The monkeys represent being taken away from this innocent playland.
Monkeys are filthy little animals to begin with. Yeah. And if they can get airborne, that's double, if not triple trouble.
There's monkey hands and their expressionless faces, and you know, they're this army of droids, but they're furry and pretty aggressive, and they had those terrible little vests.
For the flying monkey sequences, they kept seeing the wires, and so they wanted thinner wires, and sometimes these poor monkeys would be flying in and the wires would just snap.
The scarecrow scene where the monkeys come down and rip the scarecrow apart was one of the first dismemberments ever shot on film.
A house of high fashion, a dazzling.
You've got this fashion salon with these beautiful girls. You're looking at these gorgeous women in designer fashions of the day, and you can't tear your eyes away, even when they're being murdered.
Knocks your eyes out. I mean, when we were in film school, everybody would get stoned and watch the Technicolor print of Blood and Black Lace, and it was like it was in 3D.
Who is this shrouded, sadistic, sordid fiend who maims and murders?
He found a way to photograph the most graphically horrible images and embed them in such beauty that the sheer perversity of it is one of the reasons that it works.
The first victim, a young woman in a red leather coat, walking through a park alone at night. Because of the use of colour, he can isolate her out there, and he can make the darkness that much darker, you know, this sense of surrounding blackness.
Guess what's coming up next? We're counting down to the scariest movie moment of all time.
Psychological terror to me is much more frightening than, you know, something in the closet.
A little bit of insanity,
completely out of
mental disturbance, a little bit of sadism,
some nitrous oxide,
a little nitrous oxide, and you're in business.
David Lynch is just the master of like showing how happy-go-lucky towns are really, really screwed up underneath.
Kyle MacLachlan is kind of living in this squeaky clean, Cleaver-esque Americana world. Except one morning, he finds an ear in his yard.
It gets very frightening when things get out of control. Things are not what you bargained for.
Oh, the character of Dennis Hopper terrified me. Just the thought of, you know, the life of your child depends on you pleasing this maniac.
He takes a power pull off of this, whatever it is, super juice, and he goes ballistic every time, whether it's making love or beating people down.
Dennis Hopper sucking on the ether, that's scary.
He's in the closet and he's watching Dennis Hopper, and just, it's so scary, it's so psychotic.
Mommy.
Oh, Mommy. Dennis Hopper and the Magic Go-Go Juice. I want to get some of that.
First time I saw it, I wasn't as and this is strange because I wasn't as affected by it as, say, the fifth or sixth or seventh time I saw it.
It was a smart horror film. It wasn't just a slasher pick or a monster or a ghost story per se. It was really a thoughtful thoughtful horror film.
You've got the haunted house story, very much like The Haunting, where you have a place where the natural and supernatural worlds overlap. You've got a rational main character.
What was actually terrifying about it was, you know, the way that Nicole Kidman sort of limited the children.
We always use English kids to be creepy, like in Village of the Damned or The Omen or something like, hello.
You never knew why she needed all the curtains closed and all the doors locked and who those people were that were outside.
And the most horrifying moment is when they find the tintypes of the dead.
Picture these portraits of dead people. And creepy, that's the creeps.
What makes that really creepy is, did they really used to do that?
The little girl is, we're approaching her back.
What's the matter? Where is my daughter? What have you done with my daughter?
Are you mad? I am your daughter.
And it finally comes to a head, and you realize it just is mind-blowing because you're not expecting it to be what it is.
This is real. I mean, those things are out there.
We got to see a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger totally nude at the very beginning.
Thank God for that.
Not in a weird way, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Anytime I get to see a governor naked, I'm all over it.
Absolutely.
It's very representative also, I think, of the time in our country where a lot of technology was taking over. It works on a lot deeper level than just Schwarzenegger.
The Terminator has come back in time to kill the mother who will eventually give birth to the boy that will take down all the robots in the future.
And save all of us.
Yeah.
This movie felt very realistic. And I think this is something James Cameron does very well.
Jim is one of those directors that every dollar goes up on the screen, and what he was doing with Terminator was, in a lot of ways, way ahead of its time. It was a $5 million movie, but looked like 20.
Make it come alive with puppetry and animatronics, and what we can't do with puppetry and animatronics, do with animation.
It doesn't become cartoonish. You know, his movies, to me, are very realistic, and that's part of what's so kind of frightening about them.
This piece of metal is the Energizer Bunny of evil.
He feels no pain, no remorse. He has one thing to do, and that is to kill and destroy. He can't be stopped. He can't be reasoned with.
It's like a student loan officer. They just don't give up.
When, at the end of the movie, we believe that we've destroyed the Terminator, and we think it's over, and suddenly this chrome-skulled robot from the future
My husband and I go away to this retreat to work on some problems that we've been having, and we don't know that it's a colony in actuality of werewolves.
The werewolf in The Howling is the bad guy. Not just the bad guy, he's absolute scum.
There were two theaters, one above the other. So you could sit in one audience and see this reaction, and you could run upstairs and see exactly the same reaction. And it was the scene where Belinda Blasky is looking in a file cabinet.
She's hunting through these file cabinets trying to find proof that she's not at a sleepaway camp for crazy people, but she's at Werewolf Central.
Quist Marcia. Quist TC. Oh, Christopher. It's Eddie. Quist.
This isn't a begging for sympathy monster. Yeah, this is a, in 2 minutes, I'm going to rip your throat out monster.
First, even, actually had called me to talk about a film, kind of Close Encounters of the Dark kind.
That this wasn't an old Gothic manor. This was my house. This was your house. This was the house we all grew up in as kids. This was suburbia.
It's a family, and they're moving into a new house.
Don't buy a house that's been built on an Indian burial ground. You know, there is no feng shui in the world that's gonna fix that.
The poltergeists come out of the television.
They're here.
I was terrified of my TV. That last bit in Poltergeist when they shoved the TV out of the hotel room, I was just like, yes! Kill the TV!
If you want to look for the malevolent spirits in your household, they come from your television. You're watching it.
In Poltergeist, it was some of the subtle stuff that happened. Like Jo Beth Williams, you know, going in the kitchen and she, arranged something. Camera followed her into her daughter, I guess, for breakfast, and she turns and all the chairs are stacked up.
Just weird, sort of like, wait, I thought I left that door open. That is so much more frightening than when all of a sudden industrial lights and magic come in and you see the monster.
You're not afraid of little dolls, but you're afraid of little clowns.
I'm not afraid that they're going to kill me. I want to know where they are at all times.
Clowns they're just scary to me. The imagery of it, the makeup, perhaps it's that ever-present smile and happiness that's painted on.
Here's this innocent, adorable little thing that's there to make you have fun and be happy, and the dances and performs, and all of a sudden it just turns on you.
After watching Poltergeist, I did this ritual where I would have to run and jump into bed because it was always a fear of a clown hand coming out and trying to grab your ankle as you're climbing into bed.
Get your kids, get your shit, get the fuck out the house. That's all I gotta say.
As a kid, I used to have to take the garbage out, you know, at home, and it was in a back alley in the dark, and I remember going out there with the garbage and actually talking to Dracula. I would say, you know, Dracula, I know you're out here. I just want to let you know that I know you're here, so don't try anything, because I'm going to just put this garbage in the garbage can, and then I'm going back in the house.
Such wacko stuff in that. I mean, why are there armadillos in Transylvania, you know? And some of the key scenes happen off stage.
Dracula's a movie that's full of people looking out windows saying, oh my God, there's a wolf running across the lawn.
Oh my God, it's like a huge dog is running across.
You see so little in Dracula, it's quite extraordinary. And it's because its roots were in the theater.
Dracula began its life as a novel by Bram Stoker. It was then adapted as a play and came to Broadway and enjoyed great success on Broadway with the Hungarian actor Bela Lugosi.
It was a Broadway play, and they changed it for the movies, and it actually improved it. It made it scarier and creepier than it was on Broadway.
Lugosi appears, and he's in half shadow at first, and he comes down and he says,
I am Dracula. Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
That staircase with the spider web, the way he walks and suddenly he's on the other side of the spider web. There's very subtle stuff there.
What scares you about Dracula as a kid is the idea that you're sleeping. You're sound asleep in your bed, and something can come in and bite you on the neck and turn you into this horrible vampire and for the rest of your life, and you're now a person that has to suck blood the rest of your life. That's a scary notion.
Coming up, evil comes alive in bloody claymation. We're counting down to the scariest movie moment of all time.
The Brood is such a great horror film that it's hard to choose just moments of it because everything kind of builds like a snowball of horror.
Cronenberg is a master of organic horror. He taps into a very common human fear, which is the fear of decay of the flesh.
It's basically telling you anything goes, that no environment is safe.
You don't have to look for the enemy outside, not even inside your own house. The enemy is inside you.
She has children
that are really physical manifestations of the rage that she feels, much of it directed towards her former husband.
A moment that should be a hauntingly animal moment with Samantha Eggar licking the fetus.
You think she's gonna kiss it, but no, she cleans it.
It's also a moment of very deep horror. But it's because Cronenberg understands we're not at peace with our bodies.
Signs is about a family on a farm who have crop circles in their crops, and they don't know what it is, and it's aliens.
What would happen if those signs were directions for alien ships to come and land?
The first time we see that alien isn't in a master, it isn't on 35mm and pretty with nice lighting. It's in a house in Mexico City on a handheld.
Joaquin Phoenix is sitting in the closet watching the TV reports.
It's a birthday party, so it's a bunch of kids in a language that, most of us don't speak.
The kids are in the way, and the best moment is Joaquin Phoenix looking into the TV going, "Vamonos, children, vamonos!"
And you literally, as an audience member, are going like this, trying to stay steady with the camera.
Move, children! Vámonos!
Like pushes back against the closet and with his hand over his mouth because he just can't believe what he just saw.
I remember like the hair going up in my arms, but you didn't see it for it was like a half a second.
I think the entire audience did the same thing that I did, which was this.
I was coming out of the theater and two kids come up to me with suits on and little briefcases. "Oh, Tom Savini, we're shooting this movie. I wonder if you'd mind coming up to the editing room." And I went with them, and I'm watching this clay meltdown of some hideous cadaver corpse. "Wow, that's great. What's that?" "Oh, it's a movie we're doing, blah, blah, Evil Dead."
It made me think, God, I could do that. Because I was old enough, I had a 16mm camera, and then here comes a horror movie that somebody else similar age to me made in 16mm.
Evil Dead is the ultimate cabin in the woods movie, and it's so cheaply made and so wonderful.
It was the first for Sam Raimi. He and Bruce Campbell were old buddies.
We wanted to do something that could never really happen. There's plenty of guys with knives running around killing people, but people aren't possessed that often.
When do you see a woman being raped by trees?
Camera, the camera on a piece of 2x4 going over cars. You never see camera angles like that. It's very bold and ballsy and scary.
That first shot of Evil Dead, of that camera moving through the woods, really terrified me.
Sam, being a former magician, used a lot of camera tricks that cost about $1.98.
All the great gags, which was just imaginative and funny, scary, and gory.
Once the horror started, it never stopped.
The first time he has to go down into the cellar, I'd never seen anything like it.